So glad you could join us and participate in the webinar today. Again, this is the USGBC Community Connections webinar series, and this is specifically today the tour of the TCF Center, which is located in Detroit, Michigan. My name is Lana Kraus. I am the market lead for the East North Central region of the U.S. Green Building Council. And that really consists of 4 states: Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. And then I also directly support our integrated communities in Michigan, specifically Detroit region, in Indiana, and then with my colleague Mary Ellen in Ohio as well. We'd just like to take a quick moment to thank our sponsors for our local communities. So here are our Indiana sponsors, our Detroit region sponsors, and our Ohio sponsors. They help our nonprofit continue to do the work we're doing, so we really appreciate each one of them. Now, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping here, just in case you have any, in case you haven't used WebEx before. So basically, you'll see at the bottom of the screen, there is a mute and unmute function. That will allow everyone just to stay quiet throughout the webinar if possible. We'd ask you all to stay on mute. We also ask you to turn off your camera if possible, just to help with any bandwidth issues. And then you'll see the option for participants. Looks like a little person with a little head. That way you can see who else is participating in the event today. And then there is a little, what looks like a thought bubble, and that's for the chat. We'll ask that you do put any of your questions throughout the event into that chat. And then we will either answer them throughout, or we're going to have a Q&A session at the end. So if you have any questions, please do enter them there throughout the event. And then during the Q&A, you can also enter them at that time as well. And then please note that after the event, we will be sending out a PDF of the presentation along with links to all of the videos that we'll be showing today. And we'll send out certificates of attendance and a session evaluation as well. Just for a quick agenda reminder here of what we're going through today, we're going to do, we'll walk you through how to do virtual introductions. We'll do a session introduction, the video presentations, Q&A, and then we'll just talk a little bit about some of our upcoming events. Now, just for those, because we are going to be showing videos here today, just want to show you in the bottom right hand of your screen, there's an option to actually expand your screen, expand the view. You'll want to do that so you can see it a little bit larger. And then if you have any issues watching the videos, we will include links to each video in the chat. So you can actually just click on that link and watch it on your own browser if you do have any issues. And again, we'll send them out afterwards. It's always fun doing technology. So hopefully this will go smoothly today. Just wanted to take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat. Not only will it help us get to know, help you to get to know who else is there, but also help us tracking attendance for today. So please go ahead and put your name, your company, the role you play, your affiliation with USGBC if you have one, and then also your location. It's nice to know the city and state where everybody is attending from, just so that we can get everybody to say hello. Today, just want to kind of cover again, we are going to be having the full virtual tour of the TCF Center. Just a couple highlights of what you'll be going through here on the screen. And just to point out that TCF did receive LEED B4.1 gold certification last October. I had the great pleasure of working with the team to actually do a wonderful plaque ceremony last year. It was a beautiful, in such a beautiful space right there on the river. And it was so great to be able to celebrate this wonderful project that's taken place. So now we will go ahead and start with our videos today. The first one we're going to be sharing is, actually he has 2 videos from Jeffrey Harrison. He's the president of SDG Associates and performed design and project management for the $174 million expansion of TCF Center in 1989, as well as the 2010 to 2015 $300 million capital investment improvements and renovations. So we'll go ahead and start those over. And again, we'll put the link to this video in the chat just in case there's any issues. And if you have any issues, follow along, you can click on that. But otherwise, enjoy.
I'm Jeffrey Harrison with SDG Associates, the architects for TCF Center. SDG designed both the 1980s expansion and the 2010-2015 capital improvements program. I'll want the first couple of minutes give you an overview of TCF Center. It's located in the heart of downtown Detroit on the banks of the Detroit River. This is the main level, approximately 24 feet above the Riverwalk level, at the level of Washington Boulevard. That's the road to the east. The building was built in 1960 and had an area of approximately 1.2 million square feet. The circular building was Cobo Arena, a 12,000-seat arena that once housed the Detroit Pistons. The 2010-2015 Capital Improvements Program converted this into a major ballroom with kitchen and food court. The 1980s expansion doubled the building area to 2.4 million square feet by expansion of the exhibition space north of Larned, expansion of the exhibition space to the west with new loading docks, and expansion to the east with a new concourse and meeting rooms above. The plan was a typical convention center with the exhibition spaces at the core, loading docks on one side, and concourse meeting rooms on the opposite side. This is the lower level at the Riverwalk level. TCF Center is unique in that it has both a freeway and a major city street passing under it. Parking is located at the lower level between these roads. The lower level, south side, is additional exhibition space. The 2010-2015 Capital Improvements Program extended the main level concourse south to the river by creating an atrium. Meeting rooms were added in the Cobo Arena conversion under the ballroom. There are two upper levels that are similar but not identical. These contain meeting rooms on the east and south sides. The roof of the original 1960s building was designed as roof parking. The 1980s expansion did not expand the parking and used typical flat roof construction. How TCF Center achieved LEED Gold. The Detroit Regional Convention Facility Authority was created in 2009 to manage and operate TCF Center. The primary mission was to reduce the annual operating deficit of about $25 million to zero, to eliminate the taxpayer subsidy. Energy was the second highest cost after labor. So the state legislature objectives in creating the authority align with LEED criteria. The authority board also expressed support for leadership in energy and environmental design and encouraged the following of LEED strategies. The authority board made the following statement in 2010 at the commencement of the program. Because of the size and significance of the facility and its associated operations, any green investment will have a compounded impact on the region. State legislature authorized the authority to sell $299 million in bonds. The authority board and staff then had to identify the strategies for expenditure of those funds. LEED criteria under energy and atmosphere, water efficiency, indoor environmental quality, and materials and resources played an important part in determining those strategies. Criteria related to sustainable sites were generally already addressed from the downtown location, and previous projects that added a people mover station to the building made special provisions for buses and provided facilities to support bicycle use. What were the first steps? Strategies could not be developed unless the existing building's fabric and systems were thoroughly understood. That understanding came through investigations, analysis of available data, and that will be discussed later by TCF's engineering manager, Al Vasquez, review of available building records and documentation, and staff and operator input. To give one example of first step used in this project, I'll briefly describe one of the investigations of the building envelope. Maine Scientific has undertaken a number of projects in Southeast Michigan. They undertake detailed and comprehensive thermal scans of a building envelope. And then, unlike the person trying to sell you windows for your house, they have proprietary software that will analyze those scans and quantify the thermal performance of each part of the exterior envelope. Through that, Maine can identify all areas that can be improved, which ones give the most significant returns, what energy savings result, and what is the cost of the improvements. Maine produced a report in 2 volumes. On this slide, the center extracted page describes their methodology. The extracted page on the right shows the high amount of energy devoted to the envelope. The extracted page on the left shows that image reflections of adjacent buildings onto the surface being scanned have to be taken into account. The other extracted pages show the typical detail they did for the entire 2.4 million square foot building. A brief selection for the hundreds of detailed studies undertaken, each with analysis and recommendations. The building envelope investigation led to recommendations. These included, but were not limited to, add an additional exterior wall to the 1,000-foot long loading dock, correct all high return envelope deficiencies, including windows, doors, and soffits, improve roof insulation with highly reflective finished surfaces, and where possible, provide a green roof. The single most effective strategy was adding a new 1,000-foot exterior wall to the loading dock. This not only saved considerable amounts of energy, but improved the interior working environment during show setup. A green roof was added on the old heliport site. This now provides produce to the extensive food services needs of the facility. Other energy and atmosphere strategies included replacing the 1960s and 1980s incandescent and fluorescent lighting in the 723,000 square feet of the exhibition space. And they were replaced with LED and induction fixtures, and also replacing the lighting in most of the spaces generally with LED fixtures. Motion detector was added to the lighting controls of most spaces except exhibition and circulation areas, which became computer controlled. And the 1960s and 1980s heating and ventilating unit motors were replaced with high efficiency ones and with variable speed drives. Daylight harvesting was used extensively to allow public circulation lighting to be off during daylight hours. What were the results of this effort? The 2010-2015 Capital Improvements Program was completed in 2015 for the budgeted amount of $299 million. The only funds added to this were 2 Department of Energy grants. The first supported the lighting replacement in the exhibition halls. It was carefully monitored by the grant administrators, and following its resounding success, they suggested the authority apply for a second grant that they successfully did. The $25 million annual operating deficit in 2009 was totally eliminated in 2018, 5 years earlier than the schedule envisaged by the state legislature, and the program achieved LEED Gold. Parts of energy and atmosphere. For the next segment, I would like to do the same for water efficiency strategies. Water efficiency strategies at TCF Center can be described under 4 headings: water usage reduction, stormwater management, condensate reclamation, and river water cooling. In 2009, at least half the infrastructure dated from 1960, and under the City of Detroit had received few updates. The 1980s efforts focused mainly on expansion rather than addressing existing systems, so there were many opportunities for improvement. Water usage reduction. TCF Center, in its 2.4 million square feet, had 62 restrooms. Many dated from the 1960s and remained unchanged. The others were added in the 1980s. With a portion of the 2010-2015 Capital Improvements Program budget dedicated to green initiatives, the water usage in restrooms was a high priority issue to be addressed. This effort went hand in hand with accessibility changes. The 1960s restrooms were totally reconfigured. Water usage was addressed by using low-flow, conservation-friendly faucets, urinals, and toilets. Water restrictors were installed on all sinks. There were a few showers throughout the facility, and low-flow heads were installed on these. The 1980s restrooms generally met accessibility requirements, so were not totally reconfigured. However, all fixtures were replaced with low-flow, conservation-friendly faucets, urinals, and toilets. The building had a building management system installed in the central control room. The 2010-2015 Capital Improvements Program substantially upgraded this. One of the added features was monitoring of building occupancy using the event schedule plus live monitoring. This monitoring was used for several energy reduction strategies. The necessary equipment was installed and connected to the building management system to reset the building water pressure based on the building's occupancy. Stormwater management is an important issue for the City of Detroit and therefore for TCF Center. In the 2010-2015 Capital Improvements Program, studies were undertaken to examine the feasibility of collecting all stormwater, treating it and discharging it into the Detroit River rather than into the Detroit sewer system. When the cost of such a system had been determined, it was one of many strategies considered for the limited available funding. It was not added to the program, but placed at the top of the list should the state legislature authorize an additional bond sale. The authority has a major incentive to undertake this project because the City of Detroit charges over $100,000 annually to discharge the stormwater into the sewer system. During the first steps of the 2010-2015 Capital Improvement Program, all forms of alternative energy were studied, including but not limited to photovoltaic, solar water heating, geothermal, wind, river kinetic energy capture, and many others. None met the return criteria that would have allowed the authority board to invest taxpayer funds in one. However, these systems continue to be evaluated. Recent studies have shown that a 5 megawatt photovoltaic system would now produce an acceptable return. One has been designed covering the entire roof area, including over the parking. Such a system would provide considerable assistance in collecting stormwater for treatment and subsequent discharge into the river. The roof covering would also eliminate the high cost of snow removal in the roof parking area, provide better shelter conditions for parkers, and offer energy savings by shading the occupied space roofs below. Therefore, a top priority for subsequent capital improvement programs is a stormwater collection system and a photovoltaic roof system. Prior to installing an overall system, the 2010-2015 Capital Improvements Program did add a collection system for about 30% of the stormwater and utilize it for landscape irrigation. That system collected nearly 3 million gallons of stormwater. This amount was eliminated from the Detroit sewer system. Condensate reclamation. Prior to the 2010-2015 Capital Improvements Program, condensate from the many air handling units was collected and discharged into the Detroit sewer system. The 2010-2015 Capital Improvements Program added systems to recover energy from the condensate, improving the temperature to allow discharge into the river. The systems reclaimed 5,278,000 BTUs of heat energy for reuse, saving the authority $129,242 in energy costs in 2019. River water cooling. The 1960s and 1980s chiller units used potable water for cooling the condensers. The 2010-2015 Capital Improvements Program installed a system to use river water in lieu of potable water and to capture energy from it prior to its discharge back into the Detroit River.
Great, thanks. That was a really interesting discussion. I've actually personally stood in that chiller room, and it's very, very cool to see in person. If you're ever in the Detroit area, definitely see if you can get down there and see some of those cool features once we're in a safe place to be able to visit in person again. So next, I'm very pleased to welcome the next speaker, Al Vasquez. He's the manager of engineering services at TCF Center, and he's responsible for directing and managing the maintenance of the buildings, grounds, equipment, and utilities within the center. And Al, along with Claude, who you hear from next, will both be around for the Q&A after the videos to have a live discussion. So I'll go ahead and start up Al.
Good afternoon. This is Al Vasquez, building engineer for TCF Center. Today, we're going to discuss how TCF became a LEED Gold building under version 4.1 operation and maintenance existing building rating systems. And we're going to cover the different ways that we took to get there. Energy conservation measures, daylight harvesting, air conditioning, energy dashboards, loading dock renovations, utility auditing, and air quality. Well, the story didn't happen overnight. It took a considerable amount of time for us to get here. Back in '86, our exhibit halls utilized 88,000 lamps at 5 watts per square foot. We didn't have an awful lot of light either at that time. We were only about 60-foot candles, and if we could get 6,000 hours out of a lamp, we were doing very well. Some of them were considerably less, and around 2,000 hours. So we were constantly changing lamps or had a terrible burnout rate up in the ceiling. In '96, we embarked on an energy conservation measure where we replaced those 88,000 lamps with 2,933 HID dual level specially made fixtures for us, and it did tremendous things. We went from 5 watts per square foot down to 0.6 watts per square foot. Our lighting levels went up from 60 to 110 easily, and the life level of our fixtures went from always having to change them to maybe having to change bulbs every 3 years. CRI went to 75, and what that means, if you look at the graphic there, on the left-hand side is before, and on the right-hand side is the after for induction lights. So let's even go the before are the exhibit halls with the HIDs. I don't have a picture of the 88,000 fixtures, but the big one in this story is the $2.2 million a year in energy savings that we were doing over switching out to these HIDs. Now at that point, we thought we were done and we could never ever do better. But in 2011, technology caught up. LEDs weren't quite there yet, so the winner was induction lighting. We replaced those HIDs with another 2,933 inductions. We decreased our wattage per square foot to 0.35. The light levels pretty much stayed the same, but the big hero in this story is that now the fixtures were good for 10 years. We never had to touch them during their period except for a failure here and there. And again, the CRI increased. That's the difference between the picture on the left to the picture on the right. And at that, we were still saving an additional $169,000 a year. Not only did we do the hardware, but we threw in a building automation system in order to operate all of these things so that every room, every corridor, and especially the exhibit halls, if someone wasn't in there, the lights were off. That became our new default. And it gave us a way with limited amount of manpower to be able to manage 2.4 million square feet. Along with the building automation system, we added hardware devices like this one, which is a motion sensor, so that even if someone thought maybe they were going to be in a space, maybe they rented 10 spaces, but they really were only in 9, or they used one for storage, these motion sensors would tell us that story. And we would only operate not only just the lights in the spaces that the customers really were in, but it also controlled the HVAC systems, and we use them for security purposes also. The other way it helps us is that at night, well, I've got security guards that go into each and every room several times a night, and we don't want the lights staying on for long periods of time then. So what they do is, if a space is not occupied or scheduled occupied, it will only have the lights on at 30% for 5 minutes after it stops seeing activities. Other measures that we've done out there are the escalators. They only run when needed. I have over 40 escalators in this building, and we only operate the ones that we need to on demand. And when we do operate them, they have speed drives and high efficiency motors. The abundance of lighting. We've added an awful lot of glass to this building. And what we found is that with that, I can do a lot of daylight harvesting, and that simply means that I only augment the daylight with the electric lights. So lights are not naturally on, or they're not all on. I get my foot candles from exterior whenever I can. The air conditioning system is quite unique here in one way. What I use is we use river water, which is pretty cool year round, in order to circulate through our chillers and increase the efficiency of these things. And then the water from these machines goes throughout the building, and I only send it to places where we need, where the loads are. If things are off, we're not sending water in that area, and I save on horsepower and again increase the efficiencies. We watch the entire system with our building automation system to know what the loads, not only how many chillers I have on, but what are the loads, what are approaching, what are the best machines to use at any one set point in time. We'll go with the we enclosed our 70 loading docks with a vestibule, an exterior enclosure, because in the past what we were doing was as we opened up the doors to load in our events, the air was just blowing through the exhibit halls, and no matter how much heat or cooling that I put in there, we could not keep up with Mother Nature. It always won. So now that we enclose the docks, we have an absolute real fighting chance, and we do very well with that. We are always watching or generating reports, so we know where we want to be. We have a budget, that would be that black line there in the center, but we know where we are at every day, every hour, and we have to explain why some things have happened. Whereas if you look at these graphs or these bars right in the center, as long as I know those are because of increased activity, because we had additional events in the building, then that's okay. And we're always charting things like that. Oh, I'm sorry. Again, not just electric, but steam. We're watching every M-pound of steam that pulls into the building. And again, where you can see where these are over the bar, but there was increased activity in the building, so it was something that was understood and explainable. Electricity, not only do we know how much power is coming to the building, but exactly where it's going in every point of the building. I have 17 substations that feed this place, and every side of the substation we have a monitor, so I can know if one part of the building is getting out of hand as opposed to the entire building. Same thing with steam, with peak. In real time, we're reading how much is flowing into the building. Indoor air quality, several different things here, where we've got ordinances where we don't let any of the trucks operate on our loading dock while we have people in the building. We shut those down. We have no smoking in the building, but we have built several different stations throughout the facility outside where people can go to smoke in comfort, where we sheltered them from the elements, but it keeps the inside clean. Last thing is that most every meeting room and corridor has a CO2 sensor, so that I can make sure that we are bringing in ample amounts of ventilation air. Cleaning, along with, unfortunately, COVID right now, we have very stringent standards, and we are keeping to those as dictated by the CDC, and we typically or always use green products so that we can keep our customers healthy. Thank you for your time, and I encourage that anything that we blew through here, that you ask questions at the end. Again, thank you. Brian?
Great, thanks, Al, and thanks. I saw you posted a little bit over in the chat. Thanks for that. We look forward to hearing from you during the Q&A session coming up pretty soon. But next, I'm very pleased to present two more videos from Claude Molinari. He is the General Manager for TCF Center and responsible for overseeing the day-to-day operations and business development. So we'll now turn it over to Claude.
Hello, my name is Claude Molinari. I'm the General Manager of the TCF Center located in Detroit, Michigan. It was formerly the Cobo Center. The facility is owned by the Detroit Regional Convention Facility Authority and managed by ASM Global. ASM Global manages arenas, stadiums, and convention centers around the world. And the TCF Center is a USGBC certified LEED Gold facility. Lena Krause and her team did a great job of assisting us making it to where we need to be. And our team, specifically led by Cedric Turnbauer and at the time Kristen Shaw, did an excellent job of making that happen. TCF Center is extremely focused on recycling. We use an aggressive waste diversion program, and we were able to divert 65% of the waste from TCF Center events from the waste stream into composting or into recycling. Our composting program, where we all the dinnerware, the flatware, the kitchen food that is able to be composted is taken to My Green, Michigan, which has a location in Hammond Farms, and we're able to take the material from that facility and turn it into mulch and things like those that are many times used in the city of Detroit. We also do a lot of work with post-event donations. Our team, when t-shirts and lanyards and tchotchkes and various different things are left behind, instead of winding up in the waste stream, we bring them back to our reclamation room, and then we distribute them to various different charitable organizations. And sometimes we can get things like toothbrushes and deodorant items, and those they could make their way to homeless shelters. Again, our team is really focused on the 3 R's, which is reduce, reuse, and recycle. From a reduce standpoint, we attempt to work with our clients to make use of our digital equipment here, like our video boards, instead of bringing a bunch of banners and posters that would eventually wind up in the waste stream. From a reuse standpoint, we certainly do everything we can to donate any of the unused food in the building, and we also try to use reuse things like badge holders and lanyards wherever possible. And of course, from recycling, as you can see from behind me here, we've got these recycling stations all throughout the facility, and they're a major component of our recycling program. And again, that was a huge investment. This is a 2.5 million square foot building, and in order to outfit the entire building with literally 66% more recyclable containers, because that's what you need. You need your trash, you need your paper, and you need your bottles and cans. It was a big investment by the Detroit Regional Convention Facility Authority, and if they had not have made that initial investment, we could never have been a LEED certified building, and really our recycling program wouldn't exist the way it was, and we couldn't be where we are. So again, that initial investment made a big difference in our ability to succeed. The TCF Center is committed to operations that reduce environmental impacts, conserve resources, and utilize products, technologies, and methods that are in line with that goal. Waste reduction and diversion, energy conservation, water quality and consumption, air quality, and environmental procurement policy, what we buy, are also major parts of this. The TCF Center also has a fully operational green committee that was formed in 2011. This team meets twice per month and really is focused on all of the environmental goals of the convention center and all of our sustainability efforts. That group reports to a 7-member executive team, and that team sets the budget goals and then works with the authority to design a budget that is workable for the taxpayers. Members are of all departments and vendors are part of this group, so it's facility-wide through all levels of the organization. And a majority of the members are certified by the Events Industry Council as sustainable event professionals, which is a beautiful thing to have the team receive those type of accreditations. The TCF Center has a strong Sustainability Lives Here campaign, and this highlights the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And these messages are broadcast all across our digital assets. So from our websites to our email blast to our marketing campaign, both interior and exterior, it's all highlighted on those things. Sustainable technology, also extremely important at TCF Center. We have over 100 interior video digital screens that are outside every meeting room and throughout the facility. And as opposed to events bringing in placards and paper signs to direct people where to go or what is the content in meeting rooms, they're able to use these video boards, and these so then we're no longer having to put these signs in the waste stream. In addition, we have 2 exterior video boards on the outside of the facility. And again, similar concept. It's highlighting the shows, and in the past, huge banners were put on the exterior of the building, and those banners invariably would end up in the waste stream. And even if they were recycled, the fact that they don't even have to be reused or reduced makes a big difference in reducing the amount of waste that's put forth. This spring, with the onset of the COVID-19 crisis in March of 2020, the TCF Center was designated by Governor Gretchen Whitmer as an alternate care facility. Construction of the facility, which was using TCF Center workforce in combination with the Army Corps of Engineers, worked around the clock, 24 hours a day for 10 straight days to build a 1,000-bed hospital. And the goal of the hospital was to relieve the burden on the local facilities throughout the region. We opened up in early April, and we were able to build 1,000 beds in temporary structures. We had oxygen to more than half of those beds. So this way, if a patient required oxygen but not a ventilator, they were able to be sustained here at TCF Center. We also used the facility's building automation system along with some construction to create a negative air pressure environment so that all of the COVID air, as it would be, was maintained inside of the exhibit halls and wasn't allowed to escape. So that led to a very sterile hospital-like environment. And again, our team really worked amazingly hard to make that happen, and it was a great success to be able to do that. I think that the facility as a whole is ready to go. The hospital right now is in standby mode, but if the circumstance changes and there's an additional wave or second wave of COVID cases that becomes problematic for our hospital infrastructure to support, then the TCF Center will be ready to reopen again as an alternate care facility and serve all these patients. Thank you.
Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer and the Office of the President of the United States asked us to serve, and we're doing so. The entire facility is mobilized to help protect people stricken with the COVID-19 virus. We feel that this is a patriotic duty for our team, and we're stepping up. We recognize that there's some risk involved, but this is a situation where it's not a war fought in a far-off country. It's a war being fought right here in the streets of Detroit and Main Street, USA. Our in-house staff, our contractors, nothing short of amazing. These men and women have sacrificed. People have been working round the clock, sleeping at their job site and then coming right back to work, and it's been very difficult, but they recognize that the faster we get this hospital up and running, the sooner we'll be able to help save lives in Michigan. So we feel honor-bound to meet the call of the governor and the president, and we're going to do so.
Great, thank you so much. So that concludes our video portion. Now we'll move on to more of the live portion, but I just want to say a big shout out and thank you to our friends at TCF Center. I truly do consider them our friends in sustainability. Locally, we host a Sustainable Detroit Forum every year, and last year they sponsored and supported us to have our event at their beautiful TCF Center, which was wonderful. We had planned to do it again there this year, but things have changed with COVID-19, but we hope to be back in the future. They also worked with us to create a case study about their project to be able to share with individuals like you and others that are really trying to figure out their own sustainability journey and figure out how they can make their building into a more high-performing space and a healthier space for all the individuals and inhibit that space. So we will definitely send out that a link to the case study afterwards too, so that you guys can all join that. But just want to say thank you for everything you did for all the guests that come to your beautiful space, but also everything you've done to help support the COVID-19 pandemic and being able to have the ability to change your venue to be able to accommodate those that potentially need the help. So thanks so much for that. Also, as Claude mentioned, this TCF Center's Green Committee, I just want to say, like, it's such a great thing. With LEED, we really talk about an integrative process. You really need to get everybody in at the beginning of a project so you can really understand what the true goals are, and you can try and think through all the attributes you need, all the products you need, and try and incorporate all the sustainability designs and specifications you want at the beginning. But really, the building goes on. Once it's built and designed, then you have to operate and maintain that building. And so TCF Center did go through the LEED certification process to obtain their certification using the operations and maintenance rating system. And again, it really has to do with how people that are inhabiting that building actually use the building. You can design it, you can create it, you can put in the best, most sustainable, efficient products. But if people aren't educated and know how to use those products in that space, you're not going to see your return on your investment that you're looking for. So the fact that TCF has created this Green Committee back in 2011 to really organize their sustainable facility operations and the venue certifications, I think that's really important, and they continue to meet monthly. So just kudos to you all. I really applaud your efforts there as well. So now we'd like to kind of move over to a Q&A session. I'd like to invite, we have both Claude and Al on the call with us today. So would like to invite them on. I'd also like to give a shout out to Mary Clyda. She is with our marketing team and has really been just a great partner in LA in this sustainability journey, and also helped to put this webinar together today. So thank you, Mary, for helping support TCF Center as well. But Al and Claude, if you would like to turn your cameras on and unmute yourselves, I invite you to our virtual stage and platform that we have here today to be able to talk with our friends and colleagues that have joined us. So I think just to kind of kick it off, just to kind of understand a little bit more, you guys have done so much for energy efficiency and so much I know has happened in savings. Al, I think I'd turn it over to you with the energy efficiency. What do you think was the best features that you either implemented or the biggest change you made to your project to really get that return on investment that you were looking for?
And like most everything, or most projects that are out there, it was lighting. Absolutely. Going from that 88,000 fixtures down to less than 4,000 fixtures. And the number is staggering, going from 5 watts per square foot, which was the norm back then. I used to have like 400 watt incandescent bulbs, great big things up in the ceiling. And we replaced those with the HIDs. Again, I thought we'd never ever replace them again, but technology just keeps getting better. Then it was induction, because the LEDs did not exist. They were glare bombs back in 2010, so they weren't the right thing to use, but they are now. We are constantly always testing and demoing new product. We put it up because we're big enough. We draw enough interest. We put this stuff up in different areas and locations for periods of at least 6 months, usually a year or even 2 years, to demo this stuff to see that it not only saves money, but it continues to save energy. It holds up. It doesn't lose its any abilities. And yeah, we've pushed or made recommendations to other facilities, because SMG manages about 350 different facilities around the world, and we share with our partners.
Great.
I guess and so I'll keep going with another one I saw.
Sure.
Someone asking about what we do with the occupancy sensors, or was that unusual? And no, I guess it's an easy standard to use. If someone's not in there, use it to shut down your VAV boxes, or again, we use our occupancy sensors for multiple things. Same sensor, not very expensive. One we will use to turn the lights on and off. We also use it to say, even if it's scheduled, if no one's in there, don't turn on the HVAC. Why? My guards just go through the rooms, We'll turn on the lights so they can see what they're doing, but then 5 minutes later, they turn back off again. And the one more, I guess, for clarification, I let my rooms go down to as low as 60 degrees and up as high as 80 when I've got events coming. You know, if I've got something coming tomorrow, I'm not going to let it go outside of those bounds because then I can't recover in time. But when someone's rented the room, I'll let it get within 3 or 4 degrees of what their set point is that they want, 72 degrees. I'll let it get close, but not all the way there. It's not until it sees that someone is truly in that room that it will then go further and try to achieve, not try, it will achieve the occupied temperature. So there's that, and then last, we also use it for security. If the room's unoccupied and it knows, it senses that someone's in there, then it alerts our camera system and it alerts security, and we investigate to make sure that we keep this area safe.
That's great. Thanks so much. I think that's really helpful information. You're right, technology changes so quickly that there's always a new tool and helping us to not only be more efficient, but also, like you're saying, some of those features like having the lights automatically turn off or the controls automatically shift the temperature really help out. I do know, working with a lot of the utilities throughout our region, there's a lot of rebates for switching out your lights and some of your controls. So I encourage you, if you haven't looked into any of those, definitely look into the rebate programs, because a lot of them will pay for themselves to get new light bulbs or to get new fixtures. So definitely something to look into. Then we have a question about the green roof. Could you speak to that just a little bit more about the maintenance? I think a lot of people are really intrigued by green roofs. Not only are they beautiful, if those on the webinar today haven't seen a green roof in person, I definitely encourage you to visit one when we're able to. It adds an element of beauty and an outside space for a building, but also can really help out with stormwater management and different things like that. So Al, could you tell just a little bit about the maintenance there? And then also if you could share about the bees too. I think that's a great story with your space.
So yeah, telling you about the maintenance is way too easy. There's next to none. What we did, we planted sedum up there. And seriously, what the maintenance is every 3 to 5 years, we're measuring the soil, its nutrients, and all we're doing is adding a little bit of planting soil in order to bring it up to what it needs to be. Again, every 3 to 5 years, just adding a little planting soil. The bees help out because that's where we did bees in the D. We put all our hives up there, and they help pollinate that thing. It keeps it going very healthy. We have added, from the very beginning, we added a sprinkler system to those up there. And let's say about 5 years ago, when there were slight droughts in this area, we would turn them on again, building automation. We measure what the rainfall is, and if we're not quite getting there, or if the chef tells me it's looking a little peaked, yes, we would schedule on the sprinklers. But I'll have to say, for the past 2 years, if I've run 2 hours worth of sprinkler time, that would be a lot. The thing has just taken care of itself. Again, with the bees and with the rainwater and helping collect that for our green roof, there is next to nothing that we've had to do with this thing.
That's great. That's an awesome answer. Had another question regarding just kind of the sensors for the entrances and the restrooms, like the water faucets, things like that. Just curious if that was always part of the plan, or was that something implemented from the beginning? And how does that also factor into your post-COVID kind of re-entry discussion?
Okay, so yeah, the sensors that we're using there, I like how Jeffrey said urinals, but that British accent there. He adds some sass to this place. Yeah, we've always had in the plan adding the motion sensors for the urinals and for the flush valves, and also for the sinks. It just played real well into the hospital. People don't want to touch things. They don't want to touch the handles. They don't want to touch the sinks, and even much more. They don't want to do that now. So it worked out, unfortunately, worked out well for COVID. And our savings is incredible, to the tune of like 75–80% water reduction from when we did our, and I've got 63 restrooms out here, and some of them are rather large, going from putting those things in, yeah, it's 75–80% reduction in our water usage. What
Really
else have
impressive.
So the other things that we've added recently, and again, it's society is taking us in this direction, and unfortunately COVID, is we've changed out all of our drinking fountains, or all of them, with bottle fill stations. They pretty much swap right in place, where we rip the old ones off the wall and put the new ones in. Again, with COVID, people don't want to get close to that nozzle for the drinking fountain, but we encourage people to stay hydrated. So bottle fill stations do the trick, and those have motion sensors on them, obviously also. When you put your bottle in front of the eye, it fills it, take it away, it turns it off. So, and along with the filtering system that we have added to each and every one of these things.
Great. All right. Well, thanks so much, Al. I know that Claude got pulled away, or else he would have spoke up too. But thank you so much for joining us today. We're really appreciative of it. We'll go ahead and wrap things up. Did just want to share some of our next upcoming events. If you enjoyed this one, we have programming all month long. Next week, we have one specifically for the higher education focus. So if you work in the higher education industry at all, either for one or with them, we'd love for you to join that. We also have coming up next month a building the business case for LEED to really understand and help sell why LEED is important. We also have an aligning budgets and energy conservation webinar. And then for fun, in November, we're going to have what we're affectionately calling Tree Hugger Trivia. It's going to be a competition between our region. We're going to compete Illinois, Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio all against each other to have a fun evening of trivia and focusing on sustainability. So really hope you enjoyed this today. Again, we will send out the recording after this event along with the links to the videos. If you gave us your GBCI and or AIA number, we will directly submit your continuing education credits for you. We will also send out the case study and certificates of attendance for those that require or requested them. So thank you all so much. Again, thank you for our partners at TCF Center, Al, Claude, Mary, and many, many, many others, Jeffrey, of course, and then many others also contributed to such a fantastic project. So thanks again, everything you're doing in your community just to help support and show how sustainability is not only important, but can be very feasible and can also save you a lot of money in the end. So thank you again, everyone. Please stay safe. I hope to have you join us for a future event. So have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you. Bye-bye.